working with the people in agriculture that you have and visiting with people, is there anyone that sticks out in your mind as someone that was like, man, that guy is just, you know, I don't know, a very influential person in the world of agriculture based on Jack's experience in agriculture?
I would say probably Chad Henderson, and a close second would be Matt Miles, just
Okay.
because they do. I started out with Chad Henderson taking pictures. He was the first farmer I ever started taking pictures with, and obviously I've learned a lot from him being in the field. I've worn him out with questions, but him and Matt Miles have both, I don't know, they do such a good job of putting themselves out there and teaching the next generation and, showing the trials that they're doing. It's really cool to, and I've kind of built Timber Solutions around this, but it's really cool to surround yourself with people who are trying new things and they aren't afraid to, step out, the comfort zone.
Right.
And they've both done a really good job at that. And it's cool to see. And obviously, I still work with them, but it's cool to see where we started and then where, I guess how life, takes you, I guess.
It takes us places we never saw coming. I follow Chad. And I enjoy watching the guys at Extreme Ag. I haven't met the guys at Extreme Ag. I'm sure I will someday, maybe at Commodity Classic. But yeah. There's been this, and I think this is a change, a shift in agriculture that's happening right now, where people used to take things that worked and held them very close and didn't talk about it, didn't let it out of the bag. But we're at a time in agriculture now, it's a very unique time where, man, people are willing to share things. People are just tired of the whole, got to keep it secret type things. And there are things I'm trying, I'm not telling anybody, mainly because it might not work. And I don't want someone to try it and tell, hey, man, this was complete lunacy and at the beginning, and it actually found something that might have, worked in my situation on my farm. But it's this unique time in agriculture where I'm just talking. I mean, you kind of hit on it there, where guys are willing to be vulnerable and talk about their operations and talk about what they're doing and what they're working on, what is working, what isn't working, because the American farmer it's like the last frontiersman is still what it feels like. He's the last guy. He's the one that's blamed for everything. He's the one that is assumed to be the most unintelligent person in the room. Like you said, the pitchfork and the overalls. Whereas, man, the American farmer today that's lasted this long has probably a very unique and developed skill set in a lot of areas that people don't appreciate. And, especially people ask, we did a series the other day with a couple of farmers right here, good friends of mine. And man, just the ability to talk to someone about what you're going through. It may not be an application on a crop. It might just be life, man. It's like, hey, how did you and your wife handle harvest with kids? It's like, because we're really struggling right now where I'm gone for 4 weeks in a combine and the wife's home taking care of the children. And how did you work through that in your marriage? How did you work through that with your employees? How did you work through that with your children? And those are conversations. It doesn't have to be about nitrogen on corn. It really doesn't, man. We'll always be talking about changing nitrogen on corn. We've talked about nitrogen on corn since corn became a thing, and we're still talking about it, So there's a broad area of topics that farmers can talk about in areas that they need help in, And it's okay. It's cool to talk to farmers about, things outside of just what's growing in the field, because I don't know, those are really impactful areas.
It's cool to show, show the human aspect of farming, because you're right. I mean, you can show, and, a lot of people do a great job of showing, the technique or, this application helped this or whatever, but it's cool to show. And that's kind of what I've tried to focus on, because I think my audience, I try and create content for the people who are not in the ag industry, because I don't have anything to teach farmers. I mean, I'm a 21-year-old didn't grow up on a farm. Whereas
You say that. You say
where,
that.
whereas the people that I'm trying to connect with are, the people who think their food comes from a grocery store, and they don't have any aspect of what a farmer is, or what farmers do. And it's really cool to get these farmers on camera. And even if they are talking about something that they're doing to help with water conservation in the Delta, or showing how their rice starts from seed to harvest, it's cool to see that aspect and show people that aspect. Because you're right. I mean, I'm not necessarily going to teach them. You need to make this application on rice at this time. But it's really cool to show people, this is what farmers deal with. This is every day for them.
Yeah. Would you say that most of your audience is non-farmer? Do you know if is there any way to gauge that?
I think, I don't have a number. I wish I did. But I would say probably 60-40, with 60% aren't necessarily farmers. Now, they might have an ag background, but they aren't still working on a farm.
Sure.
Because I have a lot of farmers that follow me. They think, the content is cool, and it's cool to see drone videos of tractors. But I try and
It's very
make
addictive.
Yeah. But I try and make because I mean, if you look on social media, there's so many people posting videos of tractors. Farm kids, or other people just doing it for work, and it's really cool. And I'm glad so many people are doing it. But to separate yourself, you have to do something different. And the creating content and educating people not in ag is really what I enjoy, because you're teaching people where their food comes from. I mean, or where their cotton sheets come from. I mean, the cotton and that aspect is even cooler because it's our area. The South, and obviously other places grow cotton, but it's mainly Mississippi, Arkansas, Alabama, and so it's cool to show that to people who aren't on the farm every day.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and it's so crucial. It's so crucial to be advocating for the consumer base. It's a consumer base. I mean, there is truly a gap between the farmer and the consumer, because I don't harvest my crops and put it in bags and then people come and buy it out of my shop and take it home to eat it. There is a drawn out process there. And so, it's a obviously farm to table is becoming much more popular. It's a booming thing. And I hope it just, I hope it just explodes. I really do. Because as this advocacy for reconnecting back to the farm happens, I think we're going to just see a constant rise in that. Which is good, because people can then be like, oh man, it's, $20 for a jar of honey. I don't know. My wife buys honey, and she's very intentional about where she buys her honey from. But, instead of like, it's $20, it's, it's cheaper. Hang on, bud. Sorry.
No, you're good.
People have a $20 bottle of honey, and they're like, it's $20 for this. But if that the person that grew it is where their bees are, their process behind taking care of it, and in everything, dude, it's value of what you've got. If I know how a guy is raising his beef, and I know what that cow's eating, I know where it's at, I know it's like, the practices, the cost of that, and my concern for cost rapidly goes down because of my appreciation for how the job is done.
It's just like with rice in Arkansas. There's a company that I was looking at earlier today that buys rice from the Delta, and then they manufacture it and sell it themselves. And it's cool. People want to know where their food comes from, and it's really cool to know, all right, I bought this rice. Sure, it might have cost a little more, but it came from Arkansas. It came from a family farm, whatever it may be. It's cool to know, all right, American agriculture, this is coming straight from a American farm.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, and maybe not everyone can afford that, but I don't know, man. It's eating healthy and eating intentional isn't as expensive as people think it is, because you're going to get me started on quality of food, but because the better foods you get, the less foods you need to live, you know?
Yeah.
So you don't have to buy as much. But guys, if you've liked the information that you've seen so far, go ahead and check out the full-length podcast on our YouTube channel. Be sure to subscribe there. It's also on all the major podcast platforms. We're constantly dropping info and more content on all the social media platforms, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, etc. Check it out for a lot more content.